Hello everybody, my name is Benji, and welcome back to the Dyson Sphere program, where
Research is too slow. Build more matrix labs. Multiple matrix.
he is still giving me a bunch of nonsense. But in other news, where we are currently, have been busy off camera, I guess. He kind of caught me off guard, sorry about that. But yeah, no, we have been very busy off camera. I have filled out the entirety of the rest of the mall, which basically just includes a whole bunch of things that we can't actually build yet, and then our drones, which I've switched over some of the crafting for, because they require different things now, and we'll be working on that a little bit later on down the line, which is going to be totally fine. And then I've also added an extra row here at the end, so that we can add some of the new stuff that has come in the update. In addition to filling out the entirety of the mall and getting all of that nice and situated, I also built our new power plant using some tier 2 assembly machines. So essentially we have this coal node here, which was at 950,000 at the beginning of when I built the power plant. So that just shows how much power we're actually using, and it looks like we are just breaking even on the buffer. I can't even quite tell if we're gaining. I think we are very steadily gaining in the buffer here, which is nice. But what's happening here is that the coal is coming in from all of these different miners. They are being split and balanced through the splitter here and getting proliferated into the first tier. That way we get more of these combustible units. Then the combustible units are also proliferated in order to get us more power. I did the calculation. It's like 212% of one piece of coal each of these is worth, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then, of course, we also have our coal being used to make our very first proliferators, and that our proliferators are self-proliferating, and the coal making the proliferators is also being proliferated, so that we get more proliferation per proliferation. It's great. Love the proliferation per proliferation hacks. It's not really a hack, it's kind of just like a standard thing. And of course I'll also just be adding more and more turbines over time as well in order to hopefully balance some things out a little bit more. I also went around and I filled out the drone slots in some of our bigger crafting items. So like these guys have 50 drones. These guys still have 20 because they don't really have too much production at hand. These guys have 50, these guys have 50. Motors have 20, 10 because they don't really need a whole lot. I mean, these guys should probably have 20 actually, now that I'm looking at it a little deeper. Our oil is doing good, and I'll probably end up tapping more oil. These guys also have 50, 20, 20, and 20. I can't remember if I showed that off last time. And then most of these guys have 50. Like this has 50, this has 50, this has 50, this has 10 because we're not using a whole ton. This has 50. This has 20. Again, because we're not really using a whole lot. And then these guys both have 20 as well, except for the glass has 50. And this guy has 50 because it is our only source of stone. And the only way that we can get more of this is by going into the research tab and getting logistic comparator capacity with the yellow science cubes, which is going to be one of our very early on yellow science cube things. Which brings us into today. What the heck are we doing today? Well, I can answer what the heck are we doing today by coming over here and showing off the first build that I did off camera, because it's super duper simple and there was no point in me showing it on camera. And that is the blue science cubes. We are going to be aiming for a rate of science of 4 science per second. So not quite a full blue belt. And that's just because of the crafting times as we start getting later on with the science and everything. This is the wrong menu. As we start getting later and later on, this is 1 every 8 seconds. So we need 8 machines for 1 per second, 32 for 4 per second. If we were to do 6, that would be 48 matrix labs for 6 per second. And then, of course, we need the diamonds, which is the same amount, so 6 per second of diamonds, since it's a 1-to-1 ratio for both of these. 6 per second of diamonds is the same rate for the energetic graphite, which is 12 per second of coal. That's not awful. It's a lot of machines, because we need double the amount of machines, so 12 smelters for that, even more for, or well, no, the same for energetic graphite, 12 and 12. But then for the titanium crystals, these are 1 every 4 seconds, so 4 for 1 every second, times 6 is 24, and then for the organic crystals, that's 1 every 6 seconds, and you can see that starts to just get really, really huge. So today we're going to be going through the sciences, if you couldn't tell that, and then we're also going to set up a new matrix lab location at one of the 2 poles. It looks like it's going to be this pole, because this pole already has land at it. I'd rather not have to deal with that if I don't have to. Technically, I don't have to do polar science. I actually might not do polar science now that I'm thinking about it a little farther in depth here. Polar science might just not be the call this time around. We also want to tear down the old base now that we have a majority of things actually working properly. There's not really a point to having the old base anymore. The old base is just kind of supplementary, especially with the old science setup. And actually, you know what? I might just keep this old science setup here and just add to it with planetary logistics stations instead. That might actually not be such a bad idea overall, but I don't really want to take up too much time with that. And actually, you know what? We're gonna put the labs right here. This will be a perfect spot for the labs, because it's right next to the science. All perfect. So just right here, we'll place down our little station, and we will have the first 3 sciences all being demanded by 1,000. This, and we'll give it, because we're not going to be needing all that much science per second. And then in terms of how many research labs we should actually be using for this kind of a thing, it's not really a huge deal on whether or not we actually have the proper capacity for this kind of thing. I'm not too concerned overall with how many labs we actually have.
A matrix lab.
I gotta turn that guy off. He is really starting to tick me off. Yeah, essentially we're just gonna do this. And then on the other side, the exact same thing in reverse. And we'll just do, I don't know, a few of them. And then we get to talk about red science, and then we get to talk about yellow science. Yeah, we'll just do 5 on each side. 5 on each side will be fine. And then stack it up by 2. Just to have a good amount of them overall. And then on the outside, we will need space for the belts to happen. Because we're going to have more than just the current 3 sciences going in. But for right now, this will be just fine as it is. Not really worried about it at all. And then this one gets put back 1. And apparently we need another one for the one in the center. And then we'll be able to redirect a little bit later on for the rest of them. And yeah, that'll be just fine. That'll be absolutely perfect. Now, moving on to red science. I haven't really thought about an area in which I can put the red science yet, because it's going to be relatively long. I'd like to reserve the space here for the blue motors, so I guess I can do red science just kind of extending this way and use foundations, because I do have plenty of foundations and plenty of soil. I just don't want to exhaust them all at once. You know what I mean? So in terms of red science, I know I've talked about this before. We're going to have two inputs because we need hydrogen and we need energetic graphite. The energetic graphite comes from coal, but also from the X-ray cracking, which we take oil, and the oil can turn into the hydrogen and the light oil. And then that hydrogen and light oil, these ratios, what's going on? The ratios are backwards. Second, I gotta rethink this. Hang on. Okay, no, I see how it works. Okay, so we have 1 hydrogen and 2 light oil come out of this. So we have 1 and 2. This takes 2 and 1 instead of 1 and 2. They're backwards. So we need an extra 3 hydrogen in order for this to be a net positive. And that's okay because we get the extra hydrogen from this scenario. So let me set up like a little visualization here. This one will be our light oil. And then this one will be our 2 hydrogen. Or sorry, our 1 hydrogen and our 2 light oil, which we get from the plasma refining, right? Then we take 1 of these and 2 pieces of hydrogen, and that creates no more light oil and 1, 2, 3 pieces of hydrogen. So now we take these 2 in addition to the 3rd going off with energetic graphite, which we'll put down here. The energetic graphite goes off and does its thing. These 2 go off together to do red science, right? Then we have 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. That's still not balanced. I could have sworn this was balanced before. 3 per second supply, 6 per second hydrogen and graphite. Red science at 3 per second. Input, find oil, and jump start with hydrogen. Input with refined oil and jump start. Oh, I see. We don't go from raw oil, we go from refined oil, because this is the positive. This is the net positive. 1 refined oil and 2... Yeah, 1 refined oil and 2 hydrogen makes 3 hydrogen and 1 graphite. And then the graphite and the hydrogen go off together to make the red science cubes. And then these 2 go back to the start. So we input refined oil, not hydrogen. Okay, I get it now. I get it now. So refined oil, and that's it. That's just it. Because we get an equivalent amount of hydrogen and energetic graphite as an output. That's how this works. Okay, that's how this works. Cool. So now that I've explained how it works, I hope I've made that clear. If I haven't, yelled at me in the comments about it. I'm gonna go and I'm going to go ahead and design this and build it. And then I will come back and show the finished design, explain the yellow science design, go off, build that, and come back and show it off. But yeah, I'll be back. Okay, so it may be super janky how this thing actually ends up being able to do what it does. However, but it has its capabilities, and should, assuming monster, have no flaws. The way that this works is it has buffers for hydrogen and energetic graphite. The hydrogen ratio is a net positive. So it takes hydrogen and light oil, does the X-ray cracking refine to create more hydrogen and energetic graphite. The hydrogen and the energetic graphite travel along the output belts until they meet on a unified belt at the end. Hydrogen goes on this one out to the end. Might actually need more belt throughput. So what's the throughput of this? There's 32 of these machines, and it's giving me 3 every 4 second times 32. That's 2. That is 2 green belts worth. That is 2 Mark II belts worth of hydrogen per second. That's okay. I can fix. This belt is just going to have to be entirely reversed. Like this. I'll go on ahead and get my drones working on it, like so. And then that also means that I'm going to have to move this red science belt. Oh, good. Alright, sure. That's fine, because then it's going to get put this. This can stay elevated until there. And then it can go down. So go down. And then go in. And that'll do it. So yeah, no, I absolutely summoned the should assuming monster there and did not check throughput issues. Good news is I have enough input because the input is split between the two. So the inputs come out of the side of the planetary logistics station and go along to the end of a belt and attach to all of these on both sides. And then what happens with the hydrogen just the hydrogen is it goes out, and the energetic graphite also goes out, but it all goes out on the same belt in order to have it all go into the center here, and then the hydrogen and the energetic graphite come out at a rate of 8 per second in order to go into the red science, which is split because I couldn't get power to these guys very, very well. And then the red science goes around the entirety of the way and into the planetary logistics station, where it then goes over to our matrix labs for research purposes. Yay, research purposes. I love research purposes. Yeah, now it looks like it's working just fine. I don't know why this belt is not getting preferential treatment. I think there's a hierarchy of output belts that ends up happening, which is a little bit unfortunate, and I wish there were ways to more closely control / monitor that. I think for now I'll just put this as a filter, or as a priority rather, and just have it priority outputting to this side. That way this side doesn't get backed up, because this side actually has hydrogen to it, and that's a whole thing. Cool, so that is red science all done and dealt with. Now we get to talk about yellow science, and yellow science needs a whole lot of things. Number one, it needs diamonds, and diamonds are not difficult for us to make. That's literally just a 1-to-1 for the energetic graphite, which means it's a 2-to-1 for the coal, which means we need 8 coal per second in order to get 4 coal per second, or 4 diamonds per second from the energetic graphite. but in order to achieve such things, we are going to need 8 smelters as a result of that, because it's 1 per second, which is... No, it's 1 every 2 seconds. It's 1 coal every second, so we need 8 machines. And then we need 8 machines for the diamonds as well, and these can just go as a 1-to-1 directly into one another, which is perfect, exactly what we want. Then, for the other part is the titanium crystals, which need titanium, which are on the planet that's about to be attacked, and that's perfectly fine. We can just hand feed that for now until we get the interstellar logistics station, which is queued already. And then we also need organic crystals, which we're going to need a ton of. We have plastic, refined oil, and water going into that. And I already have all of those things ready to go, except technically for the water, but that's perfectly fine not having the water, because we can just harvest it on site, which means that that science is going to be built down here. And we're going to mock the dark fog that we took off of this planet by putting our currently most advanced science onto where they used to live, because I just want to rub it straight into their stupid faces. So yeah, that's all it takes for organic crystals. Later on, we'll be able to just harvest organic crystals as if they're any other mineral just kind of laying on the ground. We obviously can't do that yet because we haven't been outside of our solar system, but that is things for later. Right now, I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to get started on designing that, and I will be back shortly to explain it all and end the episode. See you in a moment. Now we've got yellow science done and ready to go. All we have to do is actually turn everything on. Also, don't mind the drones. That's just because I have titanium being as a supply at the moment. I also did not put any drones in either of these. And I'm also out of drones. So that's fun. I'll go on ahead and put this to demand, and then put this to demand. And then this and this to demand as well. And we will get all of our lovely resources in here. I actually think I want to jack both up a little bit farther. Yeah. So essentially what's happening here is exactly what I said before the break. I did try to have plastic included. That way we would only need 1 interplanetary logistics station instead of 2. And it just was not working. It could have worked. It would have been very janky, and I wouldn't have been a huge fan of it. So I ended up just opting to go with this instead, and I think I'm fine with it overall. We have water over here as well, because water is super duper important for the organic crystals. Water, plastic, and light oil all go along these belts, which wrap around. That way it's not one giant line. I could have actually broken this in half on either side, but with the fact that I was trying to fit plastic in here, I gave myself a little bit of room, and this is overall fine in my opinion. This takes all the organic crystals, brings all of the organic crystals around onto a centralized belt, which goes into the titanium crystals. Titanium crystals combine the organic crystals with, you guessed it, titanium to make the titanium crystals. And then we also, of course, have ourselves the coal being turned into energetic graphite, and then the energetic graphite being turned directly into diamonds. There is the first structure matrix at 17 hours into the playthrough. And that 17 hours is really just because of the fact that I decided to redo everything from the ground up. So I'm overall perfectly okay with that. I am not a speedrunner by any means. But you can see we have a huge, well-saturated belt here of diamonds. We're starting to get our organic crystals a little bit better now that the water is starting to reach the end of the belt and fully saturating. The light oil and plastic is fully saturated, so the organic crystals will soon be fully saturated as well. And we have enough yellow science matrix slabs to stack to the entire planetary logistics and height, which I think is actually quite cool looking at the end of the day. And that gives us our yellow cubes, and then our yellow cubes come over here to where I neglected to put any sort of proliferation. So I will add proliferation to this eventually. I don't think I can just kind of like stack it on right now, but we will have proliferation on this. Don't worry, that'll be an objective. So that is actually going to be it for today. I have gone a little bit longer than I usually try to keep it to, but that's okay. Today was a pretty big episode with the all-in-one blueprints, all-in-one red and all-in-one yellow, although the yellow does have dependency on the plastic blueprint, but that is perfectly fine. I actually don't even think that this is enough plastic. I need a lot more plastic per second that I'm actually supplying, so I will have to upgrade this. I think that our giant oil blueprint is enough to sustain such a thing for now, so I'm not entirely worried about it, but I'll probably end up just pasting it right here. And the next time is going to revolve entirely around militarization. We're going to be adding some things to the mall. I'm going to show off the process of how we can actually add things to the mall that require 4, maybe 5 items. I'll probably end up making a supporting blueprint that deals with the intermediate rocket things, these guys, the engines. And then we're going to deal entirely in militarization. So we're going to have a blueprint for the explosive units. We're going to have a blueprint for the, probably not for the titanium ammo box, but we'll end up having one for the high explosive shells, and the shell set, and the missile set, and making sure that we can actually have the precision drones and the prototypes in full automation swing, so that we can have defense in the future against the dark fog threat. But like I said, that's going to be it for now. I'm also going to have to expand the power grid here, but I can probably do that in between episodes since we are very much exhausting this coal node. We might even go for some solar sail action and really piss off the dark fog hive. But again, all things for exploration in the future. For now, thank you everybody so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. But without further ado, adios, sayonara, au revoir, hasta la vista, das vidania, evidizian, ciao, and goodbye. Please have yourselves a fantastic rest of your day. Get some sleep if you need to. Don't forget to stay hydrated. This video is in the bag, and I will see you all in the next one. Later, y'all.